In a city that has seen its share of political spectacle, even a sandwich can become a flashpoint. Federal prosecutors in Washington, D.C. have failed to secure a felony indictment against Sean Charles Dunn, the man accused of hurling his lunch at a U.S. Customs and Border Protection officer. It's a rare setback for prosecutors and a vivid illustration of the tension between federal power and local sentiment. The incident unfolded on August 10, 2025, in a bustling nightlife district. Dunn, a 37-year-old Air Force veteran working as a paralegal at the Department of Justice, confronted a group of CBP officers. Video, later posted online, shows him shouting profanities, calling the officers fascists, and insisting, "I don't want you in my city." He then flung a submarine sandwich that struck one officer in the chest. The federal response was swift. Armed agents arrested Dunn, an image featured in the White House social media post. Attorney General Pam Bondi fired him the same day, and U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro announced she would pursue the felony charge of assaulting, resisting, or impeding a federal officer, an offense punishable by up to 8 years in prison. He thought it was funny. Well, he doesn't think it's funny today, Pirro declared. That aggressive posture fit the broader climate in Washington. President Donald Trump had recently ordered a surge of federal law enforcement and National Guard personnel to the city, calling it a response to a crime emergency. Many residents and local officials viewed the deployment as heavy-handed, setting the stage for friction. With that backdrop, prosecutors took the sandwich case to a federal grand jury. Grand juries meet in secret, hear only the government's evidence, and need find only probable cause, a far lower bar than is required at trial. Hence the legal adage that a prosecutor can persuade a grand jury to indict a ham sandwich. Yet, on Tuesday, August 26th, jurors refused to indict Dunn. Legal analysts called the decision a remarkable rebuke of the government strategy. Some describe it as a form of jury nullification, citizens declining to greenlight a prosecution they see as disproportionate. Others simply call it overcharging, pursuing a felony where a misdemeanor usually suffices. This isn't the first stumble for Pirro's office. Grand juries have recently declined 3 times to indict a woman accused of assaulting an FBI agent, forcing prosecutors to downgrade that case to a misdemeanor. D.C. magistrate judges have likewise complained of due process shortcuts in other surge-related arrests. For Dunn, the legal path is still uncertain. Prosecutors could try another grand jury, scale the charge back to a misdemeanor, or abandon the case altogether. Under the Speedy Trial Act, they have 30 days from his arrest to secure an indictment. A preliminary hearing is set for next week. Beyond the individual stakes, the episode speaks to a larger story: how far Washington is willing to go to project toughness, and how ordinary citizens, whether on a sidewalk with a sandwich or in a jury room, might push back. In this clash between federal authority and local conscience, the grand jury's silence was louder than any courtroom argument. From a tossed lunch to a legal showdown, the case of Sean Charles Dunn underscores that even small acts can expose big divides, and that in the nation's capital, the battle for power, perception, and justice can hinge on something as simple as a sandwich.
The Trump administration is moving to overhaul how long international students, exchange visitors, and foreign journalists can stay in the United States. A rule proposed by the Department of Homeland Security would scrap the long-standing duration of status policy and replace it with a hard cap of 4 years. Since 1978, students on F visas have been allowed to remain in the country for as long as they maintain full-time enrollment. If their studies ran long, universities simply updated their records so students stayed in legal status. The new rule would end that flexibility. Most foreign students would instead be admitted for up to 4 years, Anyone needing more time would have to file a formal extension request with U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, submit biometrics, and wait for a government review. The grace period to leave the country after completing studies would be cut from 60 days to 30. Similar fixed limits would apply to exchange visitors on J visas and foreign journalists on I visas. Homeland Security officials say the change is meant to curb visa abuse. They argue some people have become forever students, using academic enrollment to stay in the United States indefinitely, which they claim poses security risks and costs taxpayers. Universities, students, and business groups see it differently. Many doctoral programs take close to 6 years to finish, so an extra round of paperwork midway through a degree would become the norm. Delays in processing could leave students in legal limbo or force them to pause research. The proposed rule would also make it harder for undergraduates to switch majors or for graduate students to change research fields without reapplying. Higher education leaders warn the policy could deter talented students from choosing the United States, hurting both campuses and local economies. In the 2023 to 2024 academic year, more than 1.1 million international students contributed nearly $44 billion to the U.S. economy and supported about 378,000 jobs through tuition, housing, and everyday spending. Losing even a slice of that market, they argue, would reduce revenue that funds scholarships for domestic students and underwrite cutting-edge research. Critics also fear a hit to America's innovative edge. International students fill graduate programs in science, technology, engineering, and math, fields that drive entrepreneurship and patent creation. If the United States becomes less welcoming, rival countries with more flexible visa rules could attract that talent instead. This isn't the first attempt to impose fixed stays. A similar rule surfaced in 2020, but was shelved the following year. The revived proposal is now in a 30-day public comment period. Supporters frame it as a necessary step for national security and better oversight. Opponents call it a self-inflicted wound to a multi-billion-dollar sector and a threat to America's reputation as a global education leader. As the comment window unfolds, students weigh new uncertainties, universities brace for potential enrollment drops, and policymakers debate whether tighter visa controls are worth the possible economic and intellectual costs. The final decision could reshape how and whether future generations of international students choose to pursue their degrees in the United States.